Yo, music fans. What if I told you that John Lennon, the iconic voice of the Beatles, wasn't the perfect hero we've all pictured? Get ready for a wild ride as we dive into the untold story of Lennon's fiery personality, his explosive feuds, and the chaos that fueled his genius all through the eyes of rock legend Todd Rundgren. This is a tale packed with drama, contradictions, and jaw-dropping insights you won't want to miss. Stick with me until the very end because, trust me, you'll see Lennon in a whole new light. Let's jump in. When you think of the Beatles, who's the first name that pops up? For most, it's John Lennon. His raw vocals, his fearless lyrics, his rebel vibe made him a legend. The Beatles didn't just create hits. They shaped the 1960s, crafting music that still speaks to us today. But Todd Rundgren, a bold rock pioneer, known for pushing boundaries, says Lennon's legacy isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Rundgren doesn't sugarcoat it, he calls out Lennon's flaws, from his massive ego to his quick temper and his habit of stirring up trouble. Behind the Beatles' glossy image was a stormy world of rivalries, dysfunction, and at the center of it all, John Lennon. This isn't just juicy gossip. It's a real, unfiltered look at a man whose brilliance came with a dark edge. Let's travel back to the early 1970s. The Beatles are done, and Lennon's thriving as a solo artist. His songs are bold, political, and packed with emotion, making him a cultural giant. Enter Todd Rundgren, already a star for his daring, genre-defying music. During an interview, Rundgren gets asked about Lennon's solo work. Instead of praising it, he drops a bombshell, calling it self-indulgent and too focused on politics. Talk about bold. Lennon, who was notoriously sensitive to criticism, didn't let that slide. He hit back hard in the press, unleashing his sharp tongue. What followed was a fiery public feud, a clash between two musical powerhouses. Rundgren saw Lennon as someone who acted untouchable, a guy who couldn't handle being challenged. This wasn't just a spicy headline. It revealed a core truth about Lennon, a man who thrived on conflict but struggled to look at himself. Can you imagine two rock icons going head-to-head like that? But here's the thing, Rundgren wasn't the only one Lennon clashed with. Conflict seemed to follow him everywhere. Let's talk about his most famous feud with Paul McCartney, his creative partner and once close friend. When the Beatles broke up in 1970, it wasn't just a band splitting. It was a personal betrayal that shook the world. Rundgren points to this as a sign of Lennon's struggle to keep relationships peaceful. McCartney was the careful, charming one, while Lennon was a wildfire, unpredictable, and sometimes cruel. During the breakup, Lennon wrote "How Do You Sleep?", a song that was like a lyrical punch, slandering McCartney as shallow and fake. Rundgren sees this as Lennon's insecurities taking over, turning a professional rivalry into something deeply personal. Picture the hurt of hearing your former best friend attack you in a song heard by millions. This feud wasn't just about music. It symbolized the end of the Beatles and a bond that once seemed unbreakable. Doesn't that make you wonder what went on behind closed doors? Lennon's drama didn't stop with McCartney. Rundgren dives into Lennon's complicated relationship with the public, especially during his activist years. Songs like Give Peace a Chance and his bed-ins for peace with Yoko Ono made Lennon a symbol of hope and rebellion. But Rundgren calls it out, some of this felt like a performance. How could Lennon preach peace while publicly trashing his old bandmates or sparring with peers like Rundgren? Those bed-ins, where Lennon and Yoko invited the press into their hotel room to promote nonviolence, were groundbreaking, no question. But Rundgren argues they also showed Lennon's craving for attention. It's like he wanted to be seen as a saint, but his actions didn't always match his words. Ever wonder how someone so inspiring could be so full of contradictions? It's what makes Lennon's story so gripping. Now let's talk about Lennon's collaborations, because even those were a roller coaster. Rundgren zooms in on Lennon's work with Phil Spector, the eccentric producer behind classics like Imagine and Lennon's rock and roll album. Their studio sessions were legendary, not just for the music but for the chaos. Spector was a control freak with a wild streak, and Lennon was just as stubborn, a perfectionist who wouldn't back down. Imagine two huge personalities clashing, tempers flaring, and the studio turning into a battleground. Rundgren sees this as proof of Lennon's struggle to collaborate without drama. Sure, they created some of the greatest music ever, but the process was messy, leaving behind a trail of tension. It's like their genius came with a side of constant conflict. Can you picture the intensity of those sessions? Let's get even closer to the Beatles' inner circle. Rundgren sheds light on Lennon's rocky relationship with George Harrison, the quiet Beatle who often got overlooked. Harrison admired Lennon's talent, but he was constantly pushed aside, his ideas ignored by Lennon's larger-than-life presence. Lennon's humor, which fans loved, could turn sharp and mean within the band. During the recording of Let It Be, Harrison's frustration boiled over as Lennon dominated everything, leaving little space for anyone else. Rundgren describes Lennon as someone who couldn't share the spotlight, even with a friend. Harrison eventually shone with songs like Something and Here Comes the Sun, but the wounds from Lennon's dismissive attitude stuck around. Isn't it crazy to think that even in the world's biggest band, egos could cause so much pain? This pattern of conflict wasn't just in the studio, it bled into Lennon's personal life. Rundgren paints a vivid picture of a man who could light up a room but push away those closest to him. Whether it was his public feud with McCartney, the tension with Harrison, or his war of words with Rundgren, Lennon left a trail of fractured relationships. His need to always have the last word, to control every situation, made him tough to be around. Rundgren sees this as a reflection of Lennon's inner struggles, a guy who craved connection but kept sabotaging it with his fiery temper. It's like he was caught in a cycle, wanting love but driving people away. Have you ever met someone like that? Someone whose brilliance draws you in but whose flaws make it hard to stay close? Let's step back and look at Lennon's duality, because it's what makes him so fascinating. His music was pure magic. Songs like Imagine, Strawberry Fields Forever, and Instant Karma captured emotions we all feel: love, pain, hope. But Rundgren reminds us that the man behind those songs was deeply flawed. Lennon could write lyrics that touched the world, but he struggled to show that same warmth in his own life. His charisma pulled people in, but his temper pushed them away. Rundgren calls him a paradox, a visionary weighed down by insecurities. For every masterpiece he created, there was a fight, a grudge, or a moment of cruelty waiting in the shadows. It's like Lennon's genius was a fire, beautiful but dangerous. Can you imagine carrying that kind of intensity every day? Here's where it gets really powerful. Rundgren suggests that Lennon's brilliance isolated him. His need for control, his sharp wit, his refusal to compromise, they made him a leader but also a loner. He created without boundaries, but that freedom came at a cost. Rundgren describes it as a self-imposed prison, a place where Lennon could wrestle with his demons but never fully escape. Think about songs like Help or Mother, their raw, vulnerable pleas for connection hidden in catchy melodies. Lennon's music was his way of reaching out, but in real life, he struggled to let people in. It's heartbreaking to think of someone so talented feeling so alone, isn't it? Doesn't that make his music hit even harder? Let's dive deeper into Lennon's contradictions because they're what make his story so compelling. He was a dreamer who could be cynical, a voice for peace who was often at war with himself. His songs brought people together, but his relationships fell apart. Rundgren's perspective adds layers to Lennon's myth. He wasn't just a rock star. He was a man grappling with his own duality. His ability to channel raw emotion into music was unmatched, but that same intensity often turned destructive in his personal life. For every All You Need Is Love, there was a moment of anger or betrayal. It's what makes Lennon's story so human, not just his talent, but the chaos that came with it. Ever listened to a Lennon song and felt like it was speaking to your soul? That's the magic, and Rundgren's take makes it even more real. But let's not stop there, let's explore how Lennon's personality shaped his creative process. Rundgren points out that Lennon's need for control didn't just hurt his relationships. It defined his art. In the studio, Lennon was a force, demanding, passionate, and uncompromising. That's why songs like Come Together or I and The Walrus feel so alive. They're bursts of his personality, unfiltered and bold. But that same drive made it hard for him to collaborate. Rundgren notes that Lennon's vision was so strong, he often steamrolled others, from bandmates to producers. It's why his work with Spector was so explosive, two stubborn geniuses fighting for the wheel. This intensity gave us some of the greatest music ever, but it also left a trail of tension. Isn't it wild to think that the same fire that made Lennon's music so powerful also burned those around him? Let's talk about Lennon's public image, because that's another layer of his story. To fans, he was a hero, a poet, a rebel, a voice for change. But Rundgren challenges us to look closer. Lennon's activism, while inspiring, often had a performative edge. His peace campaigns were bold, but they also fed his need for attention. Rundgren argues that Lennon wanted to be seen as a savior, but his personal actions lashing out at friends, feuding with peers told a different story. It's like he was torn between his ideals and his impulses. This contradiction made him polarizing. Some saw him as a saint, others as a hypocrite. Ever wonder how someone could be so loved and so controversial at the same time? That's Lennon in a nutshell. Now, let's reflect on what Rundgren's perspective teaches us about genius. Lennon's story isn't just about music. It's about the human cost of greatness. His talent was undeniable, but his flaws were just as real. Rundgren sees him as a cautionary tale, a reminder that ego and ambition can lift you up but also tear you down. Lennon's music changed the world, but his volatile nature broke the bonds that mattered most. His legacy is a mix of breathtaking Highs and heartbreaking lows of songs that united millions and relationships that crumbled. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars cast shadows. Doesn't that make Lennon's story feel more relatable, knowing he struggled just like we all do? As we start to wrap up, let's celebrate Lennon's music, because despite his flaws, it's timeless. Songs like Imagine and Let It Be still inspire, speaking to the best parts of us: hope, love, unity. Rundgren's take doesn't take away from that, it adds depth. Lennon's contradictions make him human, not a myth. He was a dreamer who wrestled with cynicism, an artist who created beauty but left chaos. His story reminds us that greatness isn't perfect, it's messy, complex, and real. Ever had a moment where a Lennon song hit you right in the heart? That's the magic Rundgren wants us to hold on to, even as he shows us the man behind the music. So here's the big picture. Lennon's legacy is a mirror, reflecting both brilliance and flaws. He was a visionary who shaped music history, but he paid a price for his ambition. Rundgren's insights give us a fuller view not just of Lennon, but of what it means to chase your dreams while staying true to the people around you. His music lives on, a testament to the power of creativity, but his life teaches us to balance passion with compassion. Because in the end, what's a legacy without love? Lennon's story is one of triumphs, tragedies, and the messy beauty of being human. Alright, let's bring it home. What did you think of Rundgren's take on Lennon? Did it shock you to see this side of a legend, or did it make you love his music even more? Drop a comment below and let's talk. What's your favorite Lennon song, and does this story change how you hear it? If you loved this deep dive, give this video a thumbs up and share it with your music-loving friends. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a story like this. Let's keep exploring the legends who shaped our world. See you in the comments.